All right, we are going to start on hands and knees. So come down on hands and knees. And we're going to go, our focus for class today is really going to be core. So that's where we're going to hone in on is core. We're going to first start with relaxing the core instead of strengthening the core, because it's important to know how to relax it just as it's important to know how to engage it. So what we're going to do is your head can just hang down, and each exhalation, you're trying to soften your stomach muscles. And what will eventually happen is your belly will kind of start to sag downward, and that doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It actually means that you're doing it right. So you're just going to take a big breath in through the rib cage, and each exhale, just letting the stomach muscles let go. Your back might release down a little bit. You might get a little bit of a curve there simply because you're trying to release the support that keeps you in neutral spine. And if you don't feel any movement, don't worry about it. Just try to keep breathing and think, relax the stomach muscles, particularly if you're a person who tends to suck in. We'll do about 15 more seconds here. And then on our next breath, we're now going to go right into engagement. So we're going to round, pull your tailbone under, try to pull your tailbone and forehead towards each other. Push down through your hands. Keep breathing. And then let's unwind that. Again, go into our relaxed stomach muscles. And then we'll round it up again. Squeeze and pull the belly up. We'll release. And let's do that again. Take and pull up. Now see if you can move your shoulders toward your fingertips just a little bit. Keep squeezing the belly. Push into the hands a little bit more. And then release. Next breath, you're going to tuck your toes under. Same type of action, but we're not going to round. We're simply going to, in this position, pull the belly up. So start with that already. Squeeze and pull the belly up towards the ceiling, but we're not going to round. So your back should be flat. And then toes tuck, we're just going to lift the knees about an inch off the floor, holding there. The knees are going to come down, tops of the feet are going to come down. We're going to take and walk the hands over to our right. As we do that, slide your hips to the left. The hips can just make their way down towards your heels. And then we're going to bring hands to the center, come back up on hands and knees. Walk your hands to the other side, hips move away. Bringing the hands back to the middle, come onto all fours again. Okay, what we're going to do now is you're going to draw your belly button up towards your spine without your spine rounding. And then we're going to let the belly relax. We're going to squeeze and pull the belly up and release. So you're not really going to see anything as you're watching me because it's a very subtle action. And what we're trying to do is actually not move the spine. So it's just creating belly engagement, releasing. Okay, now let's pull the navel up. Let's hold that. Again, tuck the toes, keep the belly strong, lift the knees, hover. And then we'll take it down. This time, if your toes were together the first time that we did those extended child's pose, take your heels apart, walk it over to the right and slide your hips back towards your heels. And then let's bring and come back onto our knees, walk the hands other way, hips back. And then we'll come back to the center, all fours here. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is we are just going to take the right knee and we are going to hover it above the floor. Just let it hover. Okay, we're going to take the left arm and reach it forward. We're just hovering the knee. Normally we extend it back, but we're just going to hover. From here, hand coming down, what if you now took the right leg back? So get your heel as high as your hip. And now what if we just tried to hover the right arm? So what'll happen in this is we start to lean to the left. So I want you to see if you can take out that lean, keep this left femur completely vertical as you try to lift your hand up off the floor. You're gonna lean a little, but your role is to kind of counterbalance that. Okay, take it down. Let's now start with left knee, just hovering. And then we'll extend the right arm in front of us. As we take that right arm down, extend left leg back. Okay, now let's try to work on lifting that left hand up, watching our leans to the side. And then let's release. From here, walk the hands out in front of you. Let's come all the way down onto our stomach. We're first going to start with hands just right at our sides, fingertips releasing back towards the heels. And before we do any sort of lift or engagement really of the back muscles, slide your shoulders up to your ears. So you're really crunched in your neck. And then slide your fingertips towards your heels. Notice how the shoulders pull back. So let's just do a few of those right here. Okay, now keep your fingers released back, shoulders away from the ears. Now lift the heart up. As the heart lifts, gently press the tops of your feet into the floor. Okay, now lower belly should be lifted. So take and pull your belly button up off of the floor here. And then next breath, release all the way down. Let your shoulders collapse down into the floor, arms rest at your side. Okay, let's do that again. Lift up, reach the shoulders towards the heels. Keep pulling belly button up. Now let's add the legs lifting and bring the toes towards each other. Maybe they even touch. As you release this time, arms are going to go straight out in front of us. We're going to keep the belly button pulled up. And what we're going to do is we're going to lift opposite arm, opposite leg, flowing side to side. And in this lift, don't worry so much about how high you get your arm and leg. I want you to focus more on the extension, the reach. So maybe even pause, really focus on trying to grab something that's just out of reach of your fingertips, and then switch. Let's do one more extension each side. And on that last one, bring your hands by your armpits. You're gonna press back, extended child's pose here. And then if you'd like to get a little bit more stretch in your shoulders, flip your palms upward. Try to get your thumbnail to come down towards the floor. All right, next breath, we'll come forward on hands and knees again. We're gonna come down onto the belly. This time we're gonna come onto the elbows. So elbows right underneath your shoulders. And what we're gonna work on here is we're gonna work on lifting the rib cage up, which will lift the hips. And then we're gonna come down. So instead of thinking of kind of lifting the hips first, I want you to think of lifting the ribs first, the lower ribs. You're gonna pause for about 2 seconds at the top and then take it back down, rest here. Then you pull back up, hold for 2. And we'll just keep going through this series. One of the things to note as you're doing this is your shoulder blades aren't moving together and away, together and away. Shoulder blades are gonna stay away the entire time. So your upper back is broad. You keep that as you lift it up, and then you keep it as you lower down. So your shoulders are also working this entire time. Okay, now let's lift up, hold it. As you release down, we're gonna roll towards one elbow. Okay, so you're gonna come onto your side. Knees are going to be bent. We're gonna take the opposite arm and we're gonna reach it straight up. Okay, before we even move, crunch your ear and shoulder together and then away. Do a few of these again. And then we'll leave the ear and shoulder separated for one another. And then we're gonna lift up and we're gonna hold. Okay, so keep lifting the top hip towards the ceiling. Hand above you, take it behind your fingertips. You're gonna roll your elbow down towards your fingers and then open it right back up. So a rotation with a side plank. You have 2 more. Okay, you're gonna let this bottom arm come out in front of you and lower down onto your hip. You're gonna take your hands like alligator jaws, okay, palms together. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna open out to the side, reach back, and then come towards the front. So just this open and close, we're doing a kind of a different way of doing a twist here. We're moving the upper body versus moving the lower body. And head can move with your arm and look back. And now the next time, let's stay just opened up here. Reach your fingertips from side wall to side wall. Breathe deep into the belly, ribs. And next breath, bring your hands back together. You're gonna flip onto your stomach again. We're gonna come onto our elbows. This time though, we're going to tuck our toes. So let's lift from the ribs. Knees will stay down initially. And then if you want, maybe taking one leg straight, or if you know that you're not gonna sag in your lower back, take both legs straight. Let's hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take the knees down, tops the feet down. Let your heart just open up. So extend the spine upward and then tuck your chin down a little bit. Gaze at your fingernails. As you release, we got to move over onto that other side. So let's flip to our other hip here. Opposite arm straight up. First thing we're going to start with is the ear and the shoulder crunching together and then moving away. Okay, now keep those away. You're going to lift up here, hold. Start to pull your lower rib and your hip bones, squeeze them together as if they're touching, and that might give you a little bit more lift. And now let's add that rotation. Elbow coming down, open it back up. We have one more. Okay, opening that up, we'll come into that twist, arm extends, and then hands together and rotate open. So each inhalation is just a really good time to open, and then as you exhale, close off the lungs. Next inhale, open up the lungs. All right, and now with your next one, let's just stay open. You can reach the arms wide. Big deep breaths. All right, from here, we're going to come onto our backs. And when we get onto the back, I'm going to give you guys some options. So when you come down, we're going to come into bent knees. And I want you to notice where your ribs are when you get down onto the floor. Okay, so that's what we're gonna pay attention to. And you can even kind of use your hands to figure out where your ribs are in relationship to your hip bones. Okay, so what we're trying to look at is are our lower ribs elevated higher than our hip bones? And probably for many of us, that is true, that our ribs are kind of lifted and tilted upward a little bit. And what we want to do is we want to get in a place where our ribs can come down and so that they're level with our front hip bone. So what you can do is those of you who have a pillow or you have a yoga block is if you just take that and set that underneath your head, for many of you, that's going to bring your ribs down so that they are in alignment with your pelvis. The other thing is it's going to allow the back of your neck to be long versus your chin going up like this. And then you kind of put a kink in all of the communication of the spine, the nerves, the lymphatic system here. So just adding a little lift behind the head can fix a lot of things. So if you have that, grab that and put it behind your head. Okay, so from here, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to flatten our back into the floor so there's no space. And then we're going to round. We're just going to go back and forth, flatten and round. As we're doing pretty much all of the stomach work that we're going to be doing on our back, we are not going to do it in a flat back, okay? So what I want you to do with your next breath is I want you to take and find neutral, where there's some space in your lower back, but not a lot, and where you're not flattened down. So there's this kind of neutral point, and your pelvis should be flat, and then your lower ribs should be released down as well. We're going to start to take one knee up, and we're going to bring it right over top of our hip, and we're going to lower, just hover it, and then bring that knee right back up. So we're just going to stay with one one leg here. And in all of these movements, we're going to start just moving the legs differently. The pelvis doesn't move, so it shouldn't rock side to side. It shouldn't rock forward and back. The pelvis is like it's stuck in concrete. Okay, let's switch to the other leg. Okay, now let's do both of them alternating. Again, try not to hover your feet or try not to touch your feet towards the floor. All right, so for some of us, when we do that work, we feel it in the front of our legs. And if that's you, this next movement will help with that. You're gonna take your, actually we'll keep the left foot down. You're just gonna take the right leg long and lift your heel an inch off the floor. So it's just barely above the ground. Now reach your heel away from you. Imagine somebody pulling your leg long. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna bring space into these hip flexors, and it's gonna start to strengthen them in a healthy way. When we were doing the other movement, it starts to tense them, which is not so great. So you can move our foot in a circle. Okay, actually not just the foot moves, the whole leg moves. So the whole leg's moving in a circle. Go the other direction. Right, now bend that knee. Okay, let's just take two big deep breaths here before we move to the other side. And then on that next one, again, we'll hover the heel just right above the floor, reaching it away. And we'll start to make a circle. And we'll switch directions. And then bending the knees. Okay, bring the knees and feet together. Again, check your pelvis, make sure you're not flat back or overly arched, you're in neutral. So you can draw the lower belly muscles down just a little bit. We're gonna lift both legs now so that knees are right over hips. Hover the feet, come right back up. Let's do two more. Okay, then you're gonna keep your legs in your 90-degree angle. We're gonna push the feet straight out and then back to 90, straight out. So don't take them down, just go out like you're pushing the wall in front of you. And one last time. Okay, we're gonna again lower our feet down to the floor. You're gonna take that right leg, again, hover it. We're gonna work on these deep muscles that connect leg to torso. And we're gonna go right to left with swinging our leg. So our stomach muscles are not just, they don't just reside kind of where our belly button is. They reside all the way down the base of our pelvis. And then we have muscles that attach from like the legs and the arms into stomach muscles. Okay, let's bend that right knee, switch to the other side, and we'll go right to left. And then we'll bend that knee. Okay, we're gonna open our arms out to the side. Previously, we did a twist where the legs were stable and we moved the arms. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move the legs, upper body doesn't move. So we're gonna drop one side, drop the knees to the other. And then let's slow it down just a little bit. As your knees drop to one side, pause. Breathe into the rib cage, try to expand it. And after you've taken 2 breaths there, take and switch over to the other side, same thing. We'll just do a few more of these side to side, but really trying to expand the breath as you do it. Coming back to the center, knees coming up, walk your feet away from you a little bit here. Okay, we're gonna take our hands behind our head. As you do that, you wanna interlock your hands so you got a really good hammock behind your head. Elbows are gonna come up towards the ceiling here. So arms are engaged, they're supporting the weight of your head, which is from anywhere to 8 to 12 pounds. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start to curl the shoulder blades, the top of the shoulder blades up off the floor. Okay, so you're just gonna come up, hold here. And then release back down. If you have that blocker pillow behind your head, you can just let your head rest back onto it. Okay, the next time that we come up, I want you to notice what happens with your lower back and your pelvis. And I want you to notice if movement comes into it. So again, head lifts, and then start to curl the shoulders up off the floor. And then again, pay attention. Did you flatten out your back? Are you pressing your back into the floor? And then release. Okay, so if you tucked your pelvis a little bit and started to press your back into the floor, we're gonna try not to do that with the next one, okay? So try not to add any movement to the pelvis, try to stay right in neutral. Head lifts up, again, start to peel the tops of the shoulder blades up off the floor. Don't press the lower back in. And then next breath, release down. Okay, we're gonna do this one more time. Head lifts. Start to curl from the shoulder blades up. Now your lower ribs, press your lower ribs into the floor. See if that can lift you just a little bit more. And then next breath, release here. Take your arms back out at your sides and do a few twists side to side. Again, soften the stomach muscles here. And then knees coming back up. Okay, before we move on, we're gonna do some isolated stomach work laying down. So again, find your neutral spine. So no flat back. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull our belly button down towards the floor and we're gonna squeeze the sides of the belly together, but we're not flattening our back to do that. And then we're gonna release. So your exhale is gonna be squeezing, pulling everything in. Inhale, soften. Another way to think about it is if you were wearing a belt, on your exhalation, you're gonna pull that belt really tight. Inhale, you're gonna let it go. Exhale, squeeze, pull. Inhale, release. Do a few more. All right, and then as you release, we're gonna roll onto our side. We're gonna come up. So even with some of that, we've been trying not to get the hip flexors involved, but for some of you, they still do. So we're gonna come into a hip flexor stretch just to get some length here. So let's start with left leg is forward. Both legs are gonna be in a 90-degree angle. And we're gonna take and draw the tailbone down and forward just a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna kind of the word would be tuck. We're gonna tuck the tailbone down. Then from here, we're gonna start to bend into that front knee, keeping the tailbone tucked under. And then what you can do is the leg that's back, extend that arm up, and maybe just by extending it up, you get a really good stretch into the front of the thigh. You want to reach across, maybe reaching even back. So you can kind of explore where this arm is going to go. And then let's take that down. Let's switch over to the other side. So tailbone draws down, slide into that front knee a little, and then arm wherever you want. Big full breaths into the rib cage. And then release. Okay, from here, we're gonna come all the way up to standing. So take and make that transition up to standing. And we're gonna do a little bit of chair pose work, which is yes for the legs, but the stomach muscles can be a part of that. So what we're gonna do is separate your feet. Toes are gonna face forward in this version. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna try to keep the knees right over top of the ankles. So you might not lower your hips really that far down because we're trying to get the knees to stay over ankles. And I'm just keeping my hands right in front of me. I'll talk to that in a little bit, why. Okay, so next time as you come up, here's what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the arms in front of us. For some people though, when you take the arms in front of you, you see how your back gets a big sway right here? That's because you let your ribs come forward. So I want you to pull your ribs down and in just a little bit so you don't get a sway in your back. And then what that's gonna do is it's gonna kick on your rectus abdominal muscles in the front of your body. Okay, and then we're gonna come up. All right, so what we're working now is, yes, we're gonna work our legs, but what I want you to concentrate on, do your ribs do this when you extend your arms in front of you. So ribs gotta stay down. Don't get a sway in your back as your arms come forward. And you should feel rectus abdominal muscles, transverse abdominal muscles helping you to support your arms as they come forward. Okay, now take the hands forward, hold it. Again, notice if you're arching your back a lot, pull the ribs in and down, hold. And then coming all the way up. You're gonna take one arm is gonna stay at your side, other arm's gonna come up kind of like I'm a little teapot. And you're gonna start to release your fingertips down. As these fingertips reach down, the opposite elbow is lifting up. So it's like you're taking this whole rib, shoulder, and lifting up towards the ceiling. Keep breathing. And then pull with the side obliques to come up. Okay, switch that. Now reach opposite directions with the arms. Come up. Okay, we're gonna do that again. Let's do that again. Now the outside foot, press that down to the ground as you reach away. Okay, now pull rib and hip together to bring you up. Switch sides. push down into the outside leg. And then squeeze to come up. Okay. From here, we're going to do left leg's going to stay on the ground. We're going to bring the right leg out in front of us, and you can take and flex that foot. Okay. So what we're going to work on here is we're just going to work on lifting this heel up and down. Torso is going to try to stay up really tall. So we're not leaning forward. Our spine is not overly arched or tailbone tucked under. And then you can work on lifting it higher each time if you want. Okay, let's switch that over to the other leg, same thing. And then release. Now we're gonna change it just a little bit, and we're really gonna get stomach muscles involved in it. So we're gonna start with leg coming forward, and then we gotta have the leg lifted just slightly to give us clearance to go back. Stomach muscles are gonna be strong here, and then we're gonna swing it like a pendulum back to the front, and then right back behind us. So go slow, that'll help you. Hopefully this leg that's still on the ground, those glutes and those side stomach muscles are getting tired as we're moving here. And then let's switch over to the other side. Couple more. This will be our last one. And then we'll come up nice and tall. Let's just come into mountain pose for a moment. So toes forward, take and draw your thumbs back here. And then as the feet anchor into the floor, lift up through the back of the head, chin can come down slightly, maybe even closing your eyes. The shoulders melt away from your ears. And the next breath, as you open your eyes, cross your hands in front of you. We're going to do some twisting motions, but as we do them, the pelvis is not going to move. So pelvis has to be completely stationary. So again, think of from your waistline down, you are in concrete, okay? So you're going to rotate one elbow, shoulder back, head can come back. Don't move the hips with you. Come towards the front, switch. And I invite you to add a little pause when you rotate. And what you're going to try to do is you're going to try to pull the hips towards the front more. It's really subtle, but you'll feel it deeper in your stomach when you do that. Okay, now release. We're going to do a different version of that. So we're going to do arms out at our side, and you're going to press the walls away here. Open up your hands really wide. So we're going to start to take left hand forward, right arm back. Keep pushing away. Now, as you do that, again, you're going to have to fix your hips because one hip's going to follow. So you're going to have to pull the opposite Opposite hip forward towards the outstretched hand. Keep breathing. Okay, rotate the arms. Rotate again. Switch. And then release. Okay, the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna move the rib cage, not forward and back like this. We're gonna move it side to side. And so if you want to, you can bring your hands to your lower ribs to help you. And what you're gonna do is, again, feel like your pelvis, legs are in concrete, and you're gonna work on moving your ribs right to left. The only reason I put hands here is sometimes it's kind of helpful to use like your hand to go, okay, you're gonna slide to this way, you're gonna slide this way. So hips don't move. A lot of deep internal torso muscles that have to help here. Okay, pause for a moment. So for some of us, when we do it, it's more like this, where one shoulder gets lower than the other. See if you can keep your shoulders completely the same height. And it's not a lateral movement. It's literally a slide. Like you're sliding side to side. So let's try it again. Slide, slide. One shoulder does not dip down compared to the other. All right, release that. Let's take a big deep breath. Take it all the way up. As you exhale, bend your knees a lot. We haven't done any hamstring stretches yet today. So just knees bent, let your upper body come down, draw your chin into your throat. Each exhale, see if you can surrender down a little more. Let's take about 2 more breaths here. Bending your knees, you're going to have a seat, and we're going to bring the legs out in front of us. So we're going to come into what's called staff pose, and arms are going to be at your side. Big toes, try to bring them together, flex your feet. As you get this set up, we don't want to be rounded back, but we want to be up tall. And up tall doesn't mean though ribs pressing forward where you're kind of doing like a military posture. So ribs need to be down here. So in staff pose, you squeeze the legs together. So there's engagement in the legs, which already as you engage the legs, you might have felt like pelvic floor, lower belly is going to kick on. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to press your arms actively down into the floor and see if you can lighten your hips onto the floor, because your arms are so active. It's like your arms can almost lift you up a little. And then release that. Okay, from here, we're just going to tuck the tailbone. I want you to round back. Try to get your waistline to round down towards the floor. You know, pull with the belly, bring you back up. Arms at your side. Again, squeeze the legs together. Press the hands down. See if you can gently lift the hips up off the floor with the strength of your stomach and arms. Okay, releasing. Again, tuck, tailbone, round back. Pull the belly in a little bit more. And then come all the way back up. Okay, next one, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a few rolling like a balls just for our spine today. So coming into that tuck knee position, we're going to roll back and we're going to roll up. We haven't done really a whole lot of spinal movement today, so this is probably going to feel a little clunky versus maybe very smooth, because we haven't done really any spinal kind of articulation. The big key is when you come up to the top, straight back, and then tuck the tailbone, round it a lot. Keep it rounded as you come up. So let's do a few more. A lot of pelvic mobility is needed. Let's do one more here. Good. As you come up, let's stay with our bent knees and then really intentionally start to roll one vertebrae back down. Try not to flop when you get down. You got to keep it controlled. All right, when you get to the bottom, extend your legs all the way down and then extend your arms up overhead. And you can let your hands rest onto the ground. So take a couple of big deep breaths into the belly. And then you're going to lift the right arm up off the floor. And as you do, lift the left leg. Now reach them away from each other. We did this right in the beginning of class on our belly. So reach away. And then let's release. Let's go to the other side. And then let's release here. Take and bend your knees. Arms can again come out to your side. Let's do a few of those twists side to side for the lower back and waistline. And then we'll bring the knees up here. And what we're going to work on and doing is just take the legs back down here. And then let the toes roll up to the side. We're going to take our hands to our belly. So kind of right below your sternum, right over top of the belly button. And if you can, relax your elbows down towards the floor if that works. Relax your shoulders down to the floor. Okay, so what I want you to do is take a few belly breaths and feel the belly lift up into your hands and then the belly sink. Now just take your attention to your lower ribs, the arch of your back, and then to your neck. And here's the invitation, is if you notice your lower ribs are lifted up again and you got a pretty big sway in your back and your neck feels a little crunched, I'd invite you to get that pillow or yoga block again, bring it behind your head to give you a little bit of elevation. And now that might have fixed your neck, might actually feel really good, the back of the head. And now it'll drop the ribs down into better alignment. And now let's try some of those deep breaths again. So eyes can close. Try to inhale, expand through the belly. And then slowly exhaling that out. So each inhale, see if you can expand the belly a little bit more. We're going to add a little bit of abdominal isolation to this for the next few rounds, and then we'll go back to just letting the belly be soft again. So what you're going to do is, again, let the belly expand on your inhale. As you exhale, let's pull the belly down, squeeze the sides of the belly. Think again, that belt getting tighter. Inhale is going to be the softening, relaxing. Exhale is going to be the squeeze, engage. Let's do about 4 more of those. And after you've done that 4th one with the engagement, you can just let the hands come off of the belly, palms can turn up, and then just work on the expansion and release of the belly. Let go of any sort of engagement happening here. Lying on our back is one of the few times where the stomach muscles truly can be relaxed because the floor is supporting us. Otherwise, we need our stomach muscles and our torso muscles to be active and on because they need to keep the spine in alignment. They need to keep us upright. But when we lay on the ground is now supporting the spine and the body. And so the stomach muscles can actually take a break lying on our backs. Take about another 30 seconds here. Then we'll start to bend our knees. And you can roll onto one side. As you do that, bring yourself all the way up. Sitting up tall, you can either do legs extended, soles of the feet together, crisscross. It's up to you how you want to come up tall. And once you get there, we're going to take our right hand at the side of our body, and we're going to just gently press that hand down into the floor. Our head is going to tilt the opposite direction. Relax your jaw, so let your teeth separate here. And then let your chin come forward a little, and chin moving back a little. Kind of like a head nod with your head tilted. We didn't do a lot of abdominal movements with the head lifted up off the floor, but oftentimes we recruit neck muscles instead of stomach muscles. So it's kind of like the hip flexors where we over recruit hip flexors instead of stomach muscles. So we're going to spend just a few moments here stretching out neck muscles if they kind of started to overtake a little bit. Let's drop our chin down towards our chest. And then your head can come up. Let's now take the opposite arm down, head the other way. And then when you're ready, adding some movement of the head back and forth. Take a few more breaths here. And then we'll drop again the chin down towards the chest, let the head fully hang here. And actually tuck your chin in and up just a little bit more. And then from here, let's extend our chin up towards the ceiling, opening up the front of the throat. One more time, drop the chin down and tuck it in. Now, before you lift your chin up towards the ceiling, let your head come up a little bit. If you have the ability to touch your clavicles, if you don't have a shirt that's kind of in the way, and you can even kind of do it over your shirt, you're going to take your hands. It's kind of like it looks like you're choking yourself, but you're right by your clavicle bones. You're going to pull this tissue down a little bit. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to lift the chin up. And then relax the chin, relax the hands. Okay, before we end, again, we're going to take a few breaths together. So let's inhale, sweep our arms all the way up above us. Maybe chin comes up. As you exhale, chin and hands can come down. And let's do 2 more of those. And then our very last one today. And then exhaling, hands can come all the way down.